Hey everybody, it's Chris Mahan. Welcome back to another Lead Your Teen video update on a series that I want to start this Sunday called Shadows on the Wall, The Psychology of a School Shooter. And this is going to be an 8 week ongoing 1 hour a night, 1 hour on Sundays at 5 o'clock. And what we're going to be doing is diving deep into the psychology of these teenagers, why they do what they do, what leads them to it. Um, I don't have the specifics for every single case. So, what we're going to be looking at is just basic psychology from what their home life is like, what some of the same behavior patterns are, and what is going on with these young boys today. Why are they feeling like their only recourse is to go kill people? I mean, they have to know what the outcome is going to be. They're going to get killed themselves, or they're going to spend the rest of their life in jail. And as we've seen now in Michigan and now in Georgia, when the parents know what was going on and provided the weapon, they're now looking at prison time for the dad in Georgia, and the two parents in Michigan are already sitting in jail up there, as they should be, because they all knew what was going on prior to. And as the parent, we are responsible for our kids for these things. So I was doing some research, and just for tonight's quick video, let me pull up my tablet back up here. It keeps going off here. Since Columbine, since the horrible introduction to school shooters back in 1999 in Columbine, Colorado, there have been 383,000 students who have experienced gun violence at schools since that time. And this story goes on to say that it's not just the kids that are killed; it's the emotional impact on all of the kids, the teachers, the communities, everything, because of these senseless acts. So after what happened in Georgia last week, I began to wonder, like, we always do the reaction of what happened, why they did it after someone has died, after this terrible tragedy. What I studied for my book, my new book, is the underneath of all that. So what I did in my book, this is my book here. I've showed it in the last video too. This is being relaunched. It'll be available again very, very soon. This is a proof copy. But in here, I talk about school shooters and the psychology of that and what they're missing in their home, what they're going through at school. And I know it's very easy to say, oh, well, they were bullied, or, everybody has dysfunction, everybody has problems in their home. But what we don't understand in today's day and age, and I had a conversation today with another young lady who lives in a very highly dysfunctional home. She's 19 years old. We don't understand the level of stress, the level of um, fear that these kids face in their homes today. They take that stress, they take that fear, they take that anger, and it's bottled up. Now, most of these kids, if you look at them, they are not the big kids. They're not the most popular kids. They're not the most well groomed sometimes. So they get deemed an outcast. So, in the normal uh, biological nature of things, through the pecking order, they would be called maybe a beta or an omega. They're certainly not alphas, yet they want to be. They want to be heard. They want to be seen. They want to be part of the group, but they're not. They're not the part of the group in their home. They're not the part of the group in their schools. They're not part of the group in their community. And the people that they do cling to are typically people just like them, which is even worse. Now you've got this like-minded bubble going on where they're just getting fed these terrible things. And I think that's what happened with Harris and Klebold in Columbine. They were two guys that were just not happy. They did this together. They plotted it. They put it together, and they carried it out. Most school shooters today, there have been a couple in the last couple of years, and we'll delve into that, like the buddy system kind of thing. But most of them are just single guys. My other question is, why is it always guys? Why aren't girls doing this? What are girls doing to be heard? Is it just self harm to themselves? Is it the drugs? What are they doing to have kind of the same outlet? The only known mass shooter in the last year and a half that I know of is the one in Nashville, and that girl was 28. So the age group that we're focusing on for this series, Shadows on the Wall, The Psychology of the School Shooter. 8-week series, 1 hour every Sunday, live on YouTube. I'm going with the ages of like 13 to 25. That's our adolescent age. Now, typically, we'll say that the adolescent age to adulthood is 24. Right around age 10 to 24. That seems to be the adolescent years. However, what I've discovered in the last 10 years doing this type of work is that the normal development for the brain, uh, the behavioral side, like physically it's developing, but the behavioral side, the emotional side, is taking far longer. We have 27, 28, 29, 30-year olds that are acting like the guys did back in 1985 when they were 15. We have guys that are 28, 29 with kids and they don't even know what to do with them. They're too fixated on video games and their own needs as if they were still 15 years old themselves. So to say that the brain develops at 24, 25, it may physically develop and all the connections may be there and everything's going, but the emotional awareness, um, the ability to understand other people, the ability to have drive and innate motivation, I don't think it's there until much, much later. So when we have a 17-year-old or 18-year-old, our societal mind says they should know better. They're 18 years old, but their psychological mind, they're probably 12, 11, 10. And when I tell people this, they'll say, well, how can you come up with that? I'll say, well, in my work, what I've discovered, and again, I've never done any scientific study on this. This is just my observation from the 1,000+ people that I've worked with, and the 6,000+ hours of workshops that I've taught and worked with young people and their families. What I've discovered is that the psychological age rarely ever meets the biological age. That's one. And two, these kids, the mind of these very, very angry kids is stuck in time almost. So what I tell people is, or I'll ask, say I'm talking to a young person, coaching them or something, I'll say, how old were you when you can remember like when everything was great, like everything was good in your life, you got everything you want, your family was good, there was no stress, no issues? They'll say, oh, I think I was like 10. I was like 10 years old. And then I'll ask them, well, what happened at 10 or maybe 11? Like, can you remember like an event or an issue or something that happened? I'll say, well, yeah, my dad left, or my dad died, or my folks divorced, or we got evicted and we were on the street. Something big happened at that moment in time. And it was then that they started to get angry and be full of fear and stress. And this is when it all starts to take place. But because we don't look that far back, we don't look at the effect of that trauma on the brain. We don't want to get into it because it's too personal or it's a family issue, whatever it may be. As a society, we're only looking at the end behavior, the shooting, the stabbing, the rape, the murder, whatever it is, the horrible thing. So in this series, I want to look at the dysfunction in the homes that could be leading to these issues. I just watched some videos on the Georgia shooter, and it's well documented now that a year ago, in 2023, May of 2023, the authorities came to the door. They questioned the father, they questioned the son, and the dad, I just watched video, said, oh, he knows what the dangers of guns are. We talk about it all the time. He can't get anything. Right there, if it were me, I'd have gone back in the house and said, okay, show me everything. Open up your tablet, open up your phone, give me everything you got. Show me everything. I wouldn't have just taken at the time 13-year-old's word for it that, oh, it was my account was hacked. I didn't say that really. Knowing that in your family, the entire family has dysfunction. Again, this is all documented, it's all out. I'm not speculating, I'm not trying to pick on anybody. I'm just giving facts as they're reported on the news. If you look at all the shooters in the past, every single one of them had a massive amount of dysfunction in the home. They had distrust in the home, stress in the home. They had some sort of label placed upon them. Oh, they're ADHD, ADD, they're depressed, they're this or that. Why I don't like labels on young people? One, labels belong on food, not on the human brain. But I don't like labels because then that young brain begins to say, well, this is the box that I live in. This is the definition of who I am. So I have to either A, live up to that definition, or I have excuses because of that definition. So I can do things because of, oh, well, I'm bipolar, I'm ADHD, I'm depressed, I'm this. And we allow it. We allow it. I don't. If someone is truly, truly, truly needing help, I don't think that a mood stabilizer or an antidepressant or something that's going to make them feel like a zombie is going to help the issue when they go back into a house with no food, abuse, sexual abuse, psychological abuse, alcoholism, criminal activity, uh, lack of sleep, lack of nourishment. A pill's not going to fix any of that, and that's proven. That's straight up proven. So we have to look at solutions. So the couple things I want to do in this series is one, understand the plight of today's teenager. Yes, I said it in the last video, I'll say it again. Every generation has bad stuff happen. Today, however, it is different because of the digital age, the access that kids have to everything under the sun, and the bad people that have access to them. We have to understand what's going on with our young people in this day and age. We also have to look at the psychology of the brain development. What is normal development? What helps the brain thrive from ages 0 to 5, 5 to 10, the teenage years, preteen, well into the other ages of 22, 23, 24, 25. There's plenty of shooters in those age ranges. So it's not just 15 or 16-year-olds. We have Elliot Rogers back in 2014 out in California. He wrote a manifesto, 130 some page manifesto. He was doing videos on YouTube describing how he was going to go after people. He ended up killing his roommates. He used knives and guns, and uh, horrific. So it wasn't just guns. He used knives as well. He was 22. The Aurora, Colorado shooter wasn't even in a school, but he was, I believe, at the time 24. He had issues. The Sandy Hook kid, he had tons of issues. All of them have something going on that along the way there were red flags. And I mentioned this in the last video from the other night. There's cracks in the legal system, cracks in the social system, cracks in the child welfare system. There's so many cases, and I'm not bashing anybody that works in that field, either legal, law enforcement, schools. There's so many cases and so many kids because parents are failing. Parents are failing their kids. Now, we can't go into homes and tell parents what to do. I'm trying to do that with my book if they'll actually buy it. You see, it says parental leadership, right? That's what it's all about. However, the other thing I want to do with this series is, as a group, if we can do it over the 8-week period, if we have to go longer than 8 weeks, we will, but I'm trying just 8 weeks with your help. I would like to try and come up with something, a policy, a change, a rule, something that allows the officials that can go into the homes, that can come from the schools, that work with these families every day, more ability to say, you know what, we're going to take your gun, Mr. Homeowner, because you're not doing it. Because of what we've already seen from these other parents that didn't take it, the kid got a hold of it and wiped people out. Now that's going to go against the gun rights from people. But think of this: if you are a DUI recipient, multiple DUIs, what happens to your license? You take it away. I realize that the constitutional right to bear arms, but in this situation where if you are not of the cognitive ability to see that your kid, your son, your teen is a danger to himself or others, then what are we supposed to do? Now, I'm not saying that's the only thing we come up with. I'm just saying, like, what do we have? Because in Michigan, the parents knew that their son was having problems, and they gave him a gun. They bought it for him for Christmas, Christmas or birthday. It was one of the gifts. It was a gift. Florida, I'm sorry, not Florida. That was the I was thinking of the Florida shooter. Georgia, the dad just came out, gave him a gun after the visit from the authorities. So he's going to go to jail now. But if we'd had a measure that could say, okay, your law enforcement's come to your house, schools have come to your house, you've met these benchmarks, we're going to take the guns away for 6 months, a year. Not take them from, but we're gonna do something so that he does not have access to them. Look what happened again. I mentioned this the other day. The 6-year-old that shot the teacher a year ago. That house was full of dysfunction. Had people stepped in and said, "Do you have weapons in the house?" "Oh yeah, I have weapons in the yeah, yeah." "Okay, well we're gonna lock it up for you for 1 year until you can meet these benchmarks to show, or we're going to provide maybe a lock that only you have the combination to." Maybe that's the issue. Maybe we'll take the gun out of the house, but we put it in a special safe that we know is in there, and there's no way other than law enforcement and the dad or the mom that has the code. Maybe that's what we do. Maybe that's how we solve everything for everybody. I don't know. I would like to know your thoughts. And again, I'm not an anti-gun person. I'm just an anti-dead people person. I don't want to see any more death. I don't want to see more communities torn apart, schools torn apart. I don't want to have more kids. The trauma of this on the survivors lasts a lifetime too. Look what happened on the set of Rust. That shooting should have never ever happened. Oh, my dog's barking. That shooting on Rust a couple of years ago should have never happened. I worked in film for over 20 years, and I handled guns on shows. Um, Actually, I did not. I was not an armorist. I was a prop person on several shows where we had an armorist. I was not even allowed to touch the gun. When it's done properly, only certain people can touch that gun, handle the rounds. It's very safe. And even then, everyone knows you stand back, you put your earplugs in, whatever you got to do. Everyone's aware what there's a weapon on site. There's you know if you don't want to be on site at that time, you don't have to. You can leave the set. So what happened on Rust should have never happened. So one lady's dead. The director got shot, but the lawsuits that are coming in from the crew that were traumatized, this is going to be a mess for a long, long time. So those were adults. They can handle things. Can you imagine a 10-year-old, 8-year-old, 13, 14-year-old going through this? It's going to stick with them forever. So in this series, coming up this Sunday, 5 o'clock, live on YouTube, we're gonna jump into this. Now, next Sunday, the 21st, I will be doing a little bit earlier because I'm going to be in Atlanta for the Empower Success Fest. I'm one of the speakers up there. Can't wait. It's going to be in Atlanta. I know I kind of did the date on this and got it going, but you got to start sometime, right? So the 21st, we'll do a little bit earlier because I have to leave the hotel and head back to Florida. We're going to be in Atlanta, so I'm going to do a little bit earlier. That should be the only time change of the whole 8 weeks, unless something crazy happens, which I don't foresee that. It's going to be live on YouTube. You can put your comments in. We'll be right here. I'm trying to get some guests. I want to put guests on here in from law enforcement, um, legal. I'd love to get school officials if we can. I would love to get politicians on here. Say, what can we do for, um, you know, how do we petition to get a petition going to come up with this thing that we liked? What can we do to maybe get it at least presented? How could we do that? I'm also going to be reaching out in the next 8 weeks to correctional facilities to try and get some of these shooters actually on the show. And if that happens, I need your support in saying we're not going to bash them and do all kinds of stuff, because we have to understand that when they did this, as terrible as it is, they're young and they were going through things that we don't know everything they went through. Yes, what they did was terrible. And I'm not excusing that. I'm not making any excuse for that. But for us to truly understand the mind and the psychology of a school shooter, we have to talk to them. We don't get many opportunities because either they end up shot or they kill themselves. So there's very few that we can actually talk to say, what was happening with you? What, looking back on it, what were you thinking? And what would you have done differently today to handle those same situations? And what help did you need, but you weren't getting? That's how we fix this. We have to talk to the people that actually have done this. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be pleasant, but I'm going to try. I'm going to reach out to correctional facilities starting this week to see if I can get interviews set up. I've got to find out where these kids are, what state they're in, what prison they're in, and then go through the Department of Corrections. Probably go through the legal team to get approval. And I know this is like last minute, but we're going to try and do it. Okay. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, and you want to know how to jump on, if you don't know here on this will be on YouTube, reach out to me at Lead Your Teen, LeadyYourTeen at gmail.com. I will send you all the information. I'll send you a link. I'll put you on the list. And this is going to go live on um, my channel, which is Lead Your Teen Podcast. Lead Your Teen Podcast will be live there. I have never done a Facebook Live, or I'm sorry, a YouTube Live. So I don't know if I can do it directly off my channel or if it's a whole different link, but I'm going to find that out and I'll let everyone know well before Sunday. So again, my name is Chris Mahan. This is a Lead Your Teen special series. Shadows on the Wall, the psychology of a school shooter. I really want you to see you there. I really want to see your family there, your kids. I'd love to have input. And that's the only way we're going to make this happen is with your support. So it's all free. I'm not asking for anything. I'm not asking for subscriptions, nothing. I just want this to be successful so that we can all learn something from it and hopefully stop this incredibly horrible crisis that has been plaguing our schools and our kids since 1999. All right. You guys have a great rest of the week. I look forward to seeing you. Have a good one. I'm going to shut this off now. Have a great night.